Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about peptic ulcers. I've had so many questions, so I'm going to be sharing with you some things that might cause it, some supplements and stuff you can take and do to help get rid of them, along with some lifestyle tips as well. I'm going to just jump on in. I'm going to be talking about two different types of ulcers today. There are duodenal ulcers and gastric ulcers. Duodenal ulcers are ones that are usually found in the lower part of the stomach, the part that empties food from the stomach into the small intestine. Ulcers in this general region of the duodenum are usually to do with too much stomach acid, which can be caused by stress, a lot of it usually, lots of sugar and bad foods, but also NSAIDs, so non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, along with I guess Advil, Tylenol kind of fall into this category, and even antibiotics can cause ulcers as well. So usually there's a bunch of factors that come together to have, to I guess create the condition for ulcers, and that's usually the case with duodenal ulcers. In terms of gastric ulcers, these are ulcers that are actually in the stomach part, and these are actually less to do with an overactive stomach and more frequently associated with an underactive stomach. So usually people think I have an ulcer, I have too much stomach acid, but a lot of the times that's not the case. In my experience and from what I've learned, most of the time it's actually due to an underactive stomach, and what happens is it just means that there's not enough mucus lining the stomach to protect the stomach from the acid that is in the stomach. And when you have an underactive stomach, so not enough stomach acid secretion, you have H. pylori and many other bad bacteria and even some parasites, which are able to kind of thrive and overgrow in the actual stomach, and they're not dying off because there's not enough acid to kill them. And they're able to burrow into the stomach walls, but they also lower the mucus. They reduce the mucus, I guess, in the stomach lining. So kind of your stomach is more susceptible to ulcers because there's not much protection there to protect from the acid that is in the stomach, if that makes sense. So with gastric ulcers, there's usually not enough mucus and also not enough stomach acid for the most part. That being said, don't go taking acid thinking that you need to increase it, because once you have the ulcers, increasing acidity can, cause issues. So you want to make sure you're bringing up the mucus levels instead, which I'll get into. But those are usually the two main ones. I have my notes here, so I'm just looking down to keep me on track and what I actually want to talk about. So with gastric ulcers, in terms of signs and symptoms, there's usually a gnawing and burning pain in the upper abdominal region, and usually begins within half hour of eating food. So if you are eating a meal and within half hour you start feeling the burning and it's not getting relieved by eating more, that is usually a good sign that you have a gastric ulcer. If you have a duodenal ulcer, there's usually pain in the upper abdominal region as well, but this pain usually begins 1 to 3 hours after eating, and that's because food will start to move from the stomach to the duodenum to the small intestine. So if you feel like there's a burning pain 1 to 3 hours after eating, then it's a good sign that you have a duodenal ulcer. Usually though, if you have burning pain 1 to 3 hours after eating and you eat again, the pain should go away. So that's another sign that it's a duodenal ulcer rather than an ulcer in the gastric stomach area. I hope this is making sense. So those are kind of some symptoms you can look out for. In terms of what causes it, like I mentioned in the beginning, H. pylori, it's a type of bacteria. It's a spirochete. So what happens is it actually burrows and twists into the stomach lining, or the gut lining for some people who have ulcers in their gut. And it creates these little ulcerations, and it can actually be quite dangerous, and they're hard to get rid of because they're spirochetes. So even Lyme disease, there's spirochete virus or bacteria, so it's really hard to actually kill them because they're so tough. But I'll get into some things you guys can do. NSAIDs as well. Like I mentioned, what NSAIDs do is they actually just really lower the mucus in the stomach, which is bad. We don't want that, but it really reduces that mucus. And it just causes that once you have that mucosal damage, it can lead to ulcers once you have the bacteria in your stomach. Okay, so there's a couple recommendations that I would first give to people if they want to get relief from these ulcers quick. So the number one, you have to get off of coffee. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's get off of coffee. Coffee is usually something that most people with ulcers drink. It's extremely acidic. It really destroys the mucus lining. It's really hard on the stomach. So I highly recommend cutting it out. If possible, cold turkey. There are other substitutes you can drink. I personally love matcha. I know some people are like, I'm not into that, but there are something else called Dandy Blend. You could still add some coconut milk and stuff to it if you want it to be like a coffee, you know, type of drink, but highly recommend getting away from coffee. And it won't have to be long term, but until the mucus is balanced out again. Again, you want to avoid, my foot is sleeping, sugar, alcohol, any type of like artificial foods, things like that, which is I think a given. You're gonna want to drink a lot of water, lots and lots of water to keep flushing. And you're also gonna want to increase your fiber. You don't want food sitting in your stomach or your intestines for too long, so fiber is gonna help get rid of all of that. Let's see here. You're gonna want to avoid foods that are gonna aggravate the gut lining and kind of secrete more stomach acid. So there's a few things. If you have ulcers, stay away from peppermint tea. You're going to want to stay away from super spicy foods, any type of like lemon, apple cider vinegar, balsamic vinegar. So anything that's acidic and that's going to stimulate the hydrochloric acid production. Let me see here. So do not take dairy as well. Dairy is extremely acidic and actually destroys the mucus lining in the long run. So stay away from dairy as well. A couple things you can do to start, a couple supplements I guess you can take to start soothing up the gut lining are going to be number one, L-glutamine. It's like one of my favorites for any type of ulcers. It just starts to seal things up and it really is soothing to the stomach and duodenum. So that would be a good thing. I am a huge fan of aloe vera gel. You guys know this if you've watched me for a while. Highly recommend getting that in. Again, cooling and soothing to the stomach lining, so it really helps to build up that mucus layer, but it's antibacterial as well, so or antimicrobial, so it can help to kill some of the bacteria that are present. Highly recommend that. Something that I highly recommend as well is probiotics. A good potent dose. You want to get these probiotics to rebalance the bacteria that are present, and it might not be H. pylori. There are other bacteria that can you know, kind of create some ulcerations. So just in general, you got to start improving the dysbiosis that you have. Any type of anti-inflammatory is a must as well. So your cod liver oils, turmeric would be great. Some people do say that they find turmeric does I guess kind of create a little bit of pain when they take it, so do keep that in mind. If you already take it, keep a watch for symptoms, but any type of anti-inflammatory is going to be so important. Manuka honey is extremely soothing as well. Just a tiny spoon is all you need. It's antibacterial, antimicrobial, and it signals your body to create more mucus, so it's really good for the stomach as well. A couple other things you can take as well are going to be vitamin E. It's going to help it's a powerful antioxidant, but it does help with tissue formation along with zinc and selenium. So lots of antioxidants, which are important for mucosal healing. And then I also love anything like alkaline, so liquid chlorophyll, spirulina, Craxel chlorella. You really want to start getting alkaline foods in your diet, especially while you're trying to balance out the hydrochloric acid. A lot of people use oregano oil to kill the H. pylori. I normally am not a fan of oregano oil because it kills a lot of the good bacteria, but H. pylori is one of those bacteria that are, like I said, a spirochete, so they're like twisty. They are really tough to kill. So in this case, I would definitely highly recommend oregano oil as well. You can take it either in like a capsule form or literally like a drop. So it's up to you what you decide to do. Something else you can do as well is grapefruit seed extract. Another amazing one to kill parasites as well. So you can do them in conjunction with each other or one or the other, and just see how you're feeling. So those would be something I highly recommend getting in as well. Okay, so a couple I guess herbs you can also consider getting in would be boswellia or frankincense. It's extremely anti-inflammatory. It's like an amazing supplement. I am absolutely a fan of it. I highly recommend it to almost everyone. So it would be a really good way to help start soothing and reducing inflammation in the stomach area. Like I said, curcumin, but do be careful. A lot of people do get aggravated by turmeric. Something else that is extremely soothing would be marshmallow root. This is actually one of the supplements I use when I'm working with clients to help heal their gut. I start, recommending marshmallow, and the reason is it's a sealer, so it'll completely go in the gut, seals things up, goes in the stomach. Really, really soothing. Highly recommend trying that out. You can again do a marshmallow root tea. You can do capsules. So there's a few ways to go about it. One other one would be slippery elm. You guys know this one as well. I'm a huge fan of. It is an incredible anti-inflammatory for the gut, for the GI tract. So it's another one. Usually you can get herbal. There's actually something from Genestra Brands called Herbal GI, and it has marshmallow and slippery elm and licorice root. So lots of herbs that are going to soothe the whole digestive tract. Psyllium husk is fantastic as well. And then I do like taking some reishi mushroom to help stimulate the immune system so that it can fight the bacteria that you do have in the stomach. So that would be something you want to also consider. If your immune system is so weakened, it won't even recognize that there are, invaders or bacteria. Once you start to build up your immune system, it can start to fight those bacteria for you, which is what we want. So those are just a couple things there. And then in terms of some lifestyle tips, highly recommend, like I said, drinking a lot of water. You want to reduce stress as much as possible. So a couple ways I like doing are deep breathing, hot relaxing baths with lots of magnesium Epsom salts, which is also really good for healing. I like diffusing a lavender essential oil. I like having a day out to myself. So whatever is manageable for you, and of course with your budget, I would highly recommend just getting some time for yourself to help relax. But like I said, one of my favorites would just be setting an alarm or a timer on my phone for every hour or every 2 hours, reminding me to deep breathe. And it might seem too simple for you guys, but I'm telling you, even if you don't feel like anything is happening, when you deep breathe, you're giving your body a lot of oxygen, and you're telling your body that you're not stressed. So your parasympathetic nervous system can kick back in and your body can start to rebalance. So those would be my top. Other than that, those are my main tips. Other than that, if you're doing all this and you're like, it's just not working, you might want to consider adding in some stronger antifungals, anti-parasitic, and antibacterials like wormwood and black walnut and that kind of stuff, and just see what happens. One final thing, there is a supplement called Golden Seal, which I love, love, love as well. Extremely bitter and tastes terrible, but it's also really good for soothing and reducing inflammation in the digestive tract, so you can check that out as well. I will leave the supplements, links to the supplements that I mentioned in the description box below, so you guys can check them out if you are interested in purchasing them. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If I left anything out, if you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments for me and I will respond as quick as I can. Make sure you're following me on Instagram. Link is in the description, where I share lots of tips like this, some healthy recipes and gut-friendly recipes. So make sure you're following me there. I love you all, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.